So we will call the meeting to order at 6:31. Thanks for joining, everyone. First thing we want to do is review the minutes. Apologies, I just barely got those out late this afternoon to you. Are there any comments or questions or suggestions? Well, corrections, that's all we're talking about, to the minutes from last month.
Extremely minor correction to the correction from the previous one. And that is, we're getting a little meta here, but the contraction that I was taught was CONCOM for Conservation Commission, not CON-CON. And it's written as CON-CON instead of CON-COM.
Yes, yes, yes. Good, good catch. All right. Correct. Con to be com. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Josh just mentioned, sent me a note that he'd be joining in 15 minutes. So, all right. Any other corrections to the minutes? If not, I move that we approve the minutes with the correction to con-com.
Second.
Heard. Joe, second that. Let's go around the room. Angela.
Yes.
And Orla. You're on mute, Orla.
Aye.
Okay. Joe.
Yes.
And likewise, aye. Thank you. Let me pull up the next item. Website feedback review. And pull up see if we have any new feedback. Once again, I should have had this up before the meeting, but I haven't. Okay, most recently, got some feedback on yesterday, 19th. Ooh, this is our first one. We got a 1 star.
No, that was me. So
Oh, that was you.
I was trying to use it to submit my feedback, and then I gave up halfway through. And then I was curious, what would happen? Because then I came to all the questions, and I was like, oh no, I'm just going to email Jay instead. So that was me.
And was that intentional to give it a 1 star, or?
Well, because it wouldn't work for me, so yes. So that was my email, Jay, where I got in this vicious loop when I tried to report a concern, where it wouldn't allow me to actually report a concern.
When did you email me?
Oh, great! So I'm clearly I can't.
Email's broken too. I got to give it 1 star. No, I really didn't.
It was right that just after Matt, we hung up with
Marguerite.
Marguerite.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, I missed it.
Well, I was going to say, did I not press send? Yeah. So basically, I was trying to test out the report of concern, and it made me create an account for the citizen tracker, is it? Which I did, but then it just has this link saying create new request, and then it just keeps bringing you back to the same page, and you can't actually create anything. It did allow me to see, it had space to see prior requests, but obviously if I can't submit one, then I won't ever have a prior one. So yes.
Where'd you go to that? Was it under how do I? Oh yeah, there it is. ROI.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
report to concern, and then
gotcha.
it requires you to create an account. So I did that, which was fairly straightforward. But
Yeah.
then I just couldn't find a way to actually submit the concern. Now, I didn't have a concern to submit. I was just trying it out.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, I will. That's something I would have to reach out to Civic Plus and see what's up with that. And I guess not a lot of people have said anything or have tried that to submit a concern, so I was
Yeah.
not aware of it. So I'll look into it.
Okay. Thanks. All right. The next set of items are on basically, we had another feedback. User journey collection analytics. I have not reached out to look at the pendos, the heaps, etc. I did see, per Angela's suggestion last month, that Gartner does have a market guide for product analytics. And so I'm going to review that and see what they say. They do not have a magic quadrant from what I can tell, but at least they do have a market guide where they
I could
list
get my
variety.
hands on one of the magic quadrants, but it was going to cost, you know, a decent amount of money to actually get it. So I waited to see if we could get something comparable that was free.
What was the magic quadrant you were looking for? I can see if I have access to it.
I'll go back and look at I got it from our person who did all of our initial research. So I will shoot it over to you and I can tell you which one she was looking at.
Perfect.
Great. Yeah, I have access to all of Gartner's stuff in my full-time job, and but I couldn't see a magic quadrant for product. I didn't see that they actually created one for product analytics, but they do have a market guide I do have access to. So, but yeah, anything you have would be helpful. All right, so that's still in progress. Wi-Fi, Jay, do you want to give us an update on where we are with Wi-Fi revamp and quotes and so forth?
Yeah, just still had we're having a kickoff meeting this week for when the wiring people should be coming in. I know that equipment has already been ordered and has started to ship out to the vendor, which they're doing the configurations for. But once I get past that kickoff meeting this week, I'll let I'll give another update when we meet again to see where we're at. But pretty much the ball is rolling and things are starting to get in motion.
Great. So it sounds like based on the Wi-Fi survey that was done, we need to add Wi-Fi hotspots to various locations.
Yep.
And this is all Meraki, is that right? We're shifting
Correct.
towards?
All Meraki based. We should be doing about, I believe it was about 46. I'd have to look back. Probably about 46 APs throughout the town. Not a crazy number, but it was obviously a lot of dead places that needed something in general. So it jumped that number up from like the 20 something or so that I have currently to 46. So,
Nice.
yep. Yep.
Does this include coverage of the Union building?
This is the Art Center, DPW, all the shop floor at DPW as well, which there was nothing there. Just kind of re-putting new APs for public safety because public safety was pretty much already where it needed to be. Corderville Hall, where we're actually mounting stuff on ceilings, which should be pretty cool. And also the townhouse as well, getting things mounted in places. Like I said, there's only like one AP at the townhouse, there's one AP at DPW, so we're definitely revamping things, and the library as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There's one AP at DPW currently.
Correct. And it's behind a cabinet sitting on top of a cabinet. Pretty cool.
Of course, the best location.
Yeah, best location for something like that. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to to this project kicking off and getting this done. So I would probably, I would probably say over the next few months, we'll really start to have a lot more done and completed and get the keys to the castle in that sense.
Nice. And basically the vendor we're having a vendor or integrator install them for us, is that correct?
Yeah, they're installing it, configuring, installing, pretty much just handing over the keys when it's done. I also got funding to, purchase replace some switches as well. So I'm getting a new core switch that's Meraki and a couple of other switches and locations at IDFs throughout the town. And hopefully over the next year or two, start to upgrade other switches and continue to roll out newer switches to all of the town.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love Meraki, and I know the real Meraki magic happens when you have Meraki on both sides of the line.
Yeah.
APs, and you can do the full. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully a firewall at some point as well too. So.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yep.
Okay, any questions for Jay on Wi-Fi? Okay, great. Thanks for all your work on that, Jay. Technology related training, town employee training. I know that Angela, you were going to be working with creating a data management baseline
I'm
doc.
still working on creating a data management best practices document. I gotta ask for forgiveness again this month. I need a little bit more time to do it. But we did, Jay and I met with Sarah Cassell for our quarterly meeting, and I was able to meet with the new director of recreation. So when it comes time, I do have some updates from those points, but I don't have the data management guide ready for review yet.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for your efforts there. And I think Orla, you and I don't have, at least I don't have any updates on the library stuff. Yeah, we should touch base on that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so continuing on, general outreach to departments. Start with emergency dispatch tech. Yash, have you heard of any of the continued discussions, or you've been involved in continued discussions on that front?
No, I think there was going to be a discussion, and I don't feel I was kept in the loop at that time between because it was at the point that it was with the select board and the dispatch committee taking it. I think what has happened is that the virtual dispatch situation is not working that much into our favor at this point, but RECC has been proposed again and people are looking at that options, I think, more actively as we speak. So no, nothing on the virtual dispatch front at this point.
From my understanding, there will be an article for town meeting in the fall.
Yes, it is an article for town meeting. Yeah.
For a rec, or basically a rec.
For a rec, yes. And that was promptly reported on my South Borough. And
is there any idea what the sentiment is on that?
I think the sentiment is it is still a mix of things. There is no doubt that people are not in the favor of like a dark station scenario, but how do we want to solve that problem will still be something I guess will be taken in the meeting itself, and that has to be resolved. The virtual rec, there are a lot of legal hassles to it. There is, like, according to standards that need to be matched, and so that I feel it's a idea which is, I think, a bit more ahead of its time at this point, and it needs a lot more cooperation from other towns, and we have not been able to find a partner town in that. So that's also one more telltale on that.
Okay.
RECC, it is now going to become, rather than a technology question, Matt, it is going to be more about a budget question at the end of the day. it's going to take the budget to maintain or get us in, as well as the dock station issues. So
Yeah. I think we'll be hit, to my understanding, the fall town meeting might be hitting us with quite a few hefty budget items as citizens.
is the MBTA community is also going to be discussed in the same select board meeting this week?
That will be discussed. That's not less a budgetary concern, but there's a lot of controversy around the MBTA communities.
Yeah.
But that will be forward. The two budget item I'm thinking about is the rec, which it's something. I mean, it's several positions we're talking about, and the costs potentially
I mean,
significant.
we did receive that uh, Excel sheet, or that whatever the printout that was given to us when we visited the SMREC, right? So I think that if we consider that to be like the gospel, and when you follow that, then it's not, it is a object, it is a worth a discussion kind of a point in terms of the technology we put in. But our size and our volume of calls that as a town or the partner towns we have are going to receive there, I hope is going to be much lesser than what Foxborough gets. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, the other big, at least the big budgetary item that I think is going to be going for fall town meeting is the school, New Year's school committee. I heard on the order of they're putting it forth potentially to do 4 grades at the school. So, and we're talking about more of it's like an average increase in over $1,000 taxes per house per year. So non-trivial. Okay, but it's not tech related, so we won't discuss it. But well, related to that,
it's not
Hopefully
related.
very high tech
It's
for that price.
yeah, it better be really high tech for that price. Uh, though there is, I do think that we should reach out to the building committee and make sure that there's, I guess they were talking about a cafetorium, is that right? So you heard in our discussion, Orla,
Yep.
that building, and so we make sure that if they do build a cafetorium, it'd be nice to have the same, at least budgeted, the same virtual meeting room tech that we're going to be quoting out for our other rooms. And once we get the quotes back, Jay, it'd be good to say.
Are you saying the word cafetorium, like half cafe, half auditorium?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Like, right, they don't have a budget to build a separate auditorium and a separate cafeteria, so they're building. I guess it's the thing, cafetoriums.
It's similar to what were the like gymnasium combination. I don't remember those in the 70s.
I wasn't sure I heard you right, but okay.
Caffeinasium? Caffeinasium Cortorium? I don't know. Yeah, multi-purpose room. So anyway, yeah, so related to that, the meeting room tech. Like maybe we should skip to that. I don't really have any updates on the meeting room tech other than earlier this afternoon, Jay, I sent you an email with a couple of recommendations. Thank you for sharing the vendor lists. A couple of recommendations on the vendors. These ones I found to be Zoom certified installers, and be good to get quotes from like 3 companies. So, any other updates from your side, Jay, on that discussion?
I had reached out already to Pro AV already, and just kind of nudged them on what we were talking about prior, but kind of like a rework of that. And their tech was kind of putting some things together, but they haven't really given me a quote yet. And I told them that at some point, if we, I think the next time we meet, that I would have, reach out to you to see if you were available to kind of look at some of the stuff that they quoted me. So.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to meet with them once they're ready. Okay. Nothing else on that topic. Thanks, Yash, for the update on the emergency dispatch tech. DPW. Orla, I think you met with Bill. Is that correct?
That was before our last meeting, so I have not spoken.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
No other updates.
One of
Okay.
the,
Yeah, sure.
sorry, I meant to shoot over an email to you, but I haven't yet. Didn't get a chance to do it. One of the things that had come up was just the ability to capture, I guess, calls that come in and have a logging system versus a paper-based system. And I'm just curious if that's come up with other town departments also.
What was that again?
So when somebody calls in to make a complaint, right now it gets written on a piece of paper, and then a pile of paper stacks up on Bill's desk. He then calls, works through the list of calls, makes notes in his notebooks as he's talking to them. And then if they call back a week from now to get an update, he goes back to his notebook and looks to see what's happening.
So,
Versus he had mentioned in a prior town, he had a system where as the calls came in, they were logged, and then obviously you could trace the status of those calls.
so they have, currently they do have a work order system that they are working with, that they will submit the tickets to the,
GIS, is it?
yeah, so they'll submit the tickets to the employees to get the job done if a call does come through. But he is, you know, I know that they're in the process of hiring, I think it's called a civil engineer.
Yeah,
Which I believe that they're trying to even have that person work on tasks like this to kind of look for a system that will assist them in not just writing things down, but you know, entering it into a system and kind of, you know, tracking that as well.
yeah.
That was the, you know, the
Other
last.
department in town, I guess what I was curious was like, is there another department that already has a solution for this, or no, everybody's on a paper-based system?
You know, DPW is kind of unique in a sense. The only, you know, when I say, you know, I say that because like if someone wants to submit a request to have an inspection done, we do it through Viewpoint, right? And then there's a lot of things for getting a sticker is through Viewpoint. If, you know, so there's a lot of places in Viewpoint that town, people in town are, well, employees in town have that ability to have residents submit something to them. Whereas DPW, it doesn't have that specifically, but, you know, again, that maybe Viewpoint is that answer, but
Yeah, I
no,
was going to say, did they ever look at Viewpoint?
yeah, I don't know if they've ever really, you know, looked at Viewpoint in that sense, but, I just know that that is something that he's looking to do once he gets this new person involved, on board as well, which I think that they are in the process of looking at someone right now. But yeah, in town, you know, but even with us in the IT department, whenever there's a request, we have a ticketing system that people submit a ticket in, and we review those ourselves. But the rest of it is, the majority of it, I would say, is like Viewpoint in a sense when it comes to like inspections and
Okay.
the
And
health.
is Viewpoint something then that I, as a town resident, can go back to and see what the status of my request is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It tracks, you know, everything from who has been reached, you know, who in the steps of like, did it get to the building inspector? Is it supposed, you know, is there an inspector supposed to go out? Is it scheduled? Does all that inside of the system for them.
Okay.
Well, not for them in the sense that they're able to click through it, and so it sends out alerts for them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a,
Yeah, and maybe that's something we can follow up on offline just to see what the capabilities are of Viewpoint. And is that something that could be exposed on the website so that you could easily, because I'm assuming it's not. Is it connected to the town website now or no?
There is a link for building inspections, and it'll bring you to Viewpoint for
Okay.
inspections. So same thing with DPW when they have this, you know, when they file on a for a sticker, it'll bring you to Viewpoint as well, because Viewpoint is its own, it's a dedicated like URL for the site. I mean for the town, I'm sorry. It'll be like Southborough Civic it's funny because Civic Plus actually owns them as well.
Civic Plus owns Viewpoint?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
So, yeah. They have a pretty good foothold in a lot of things.
Yeah, that goes over to the OpenGov, I think is where
Gov.
they're hosting
Yeah.
the Viewpoint.
Yeah.
So Orla, to
yes,
your point, I think you're
answer your
basically,
question. Sorry.
yeah, Orla, I think what you're driving towards is there value to the employees and or the residents to looking into potentially unifying our ticketing slash request management tools? Obviously, as of today, every department's using their own or they're using paper, right?
Yeah.
Senior center, it's all paper, and I think they use on the back end some technology. The police and fire, obviously, that is all proprietary public safety software and has to be for compliance reasons, etc. DPW, it's paper. Uh, the permitting system, because that's a very controlled process, individuals can submit their own requests, and individuals can see the status of their requests. They don't see status of other people's requests. And then, of course, we've been also exploring this concept of a C-click fix. And one of the values of C-click fix is full public disclosure of requests on public property, as opposed to requests for your own private property. So I think it's would be valuable to maybe create a list. I don't know if you have time to do that, Orla, like
I
what are the
just,
different departments and what are they using and what are the requirements that would be valuable to have.
I just opened an Excel while we were talking, so I'll get that started.
Awesome.
Then I'll have to figure out how to translate it into Google, but we'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Great. Yeah, and related to that, so Orla and I had a good meeting with Marguerite from the Select Board, and discussing a few issues that the Select Board has been working on, and she had been interested in evaluating C-click fix. And there's an ongoing discussion with Bill about that. And one of the things that we came up in the discussion is the importance of understanding the underlying challenge that is being faced. What is the problem we're trying to solve? Not just say, here's a technology we need to implement. No, what is the underlying problem we're trying to solve? And let's get alignment on the problem we're trying to solve, as opposed to just focusing on technology, because the technology for technology's sake doesn't solve anything. We need to make sure it focuses on the actual underlying problems. So with this, as well as with like the transfer station technology, license plate reader stuff, etc., I think it'd be useful to, and literally every department we do outreaches to. It'd be good to take a step back. And I think we've attempted this in the past or done this a little bit in the past, but just is a mental note for myself of let's make sure we discuss with the department heads what are the objectives we're trying to solve, and keep the objectives from multiple, keep as broad of what we call user persona objectives as possible. So from the perspective of an employee, from the perspective of board committee members, from the perspective of citizens, and perspective of anybody else who interacts with the town. So for example, for any sort of permitting system, this would involve not only employees, but town residents, but potentially contractors as well. And how are contractors and people who need to pull permits, how do they view the system, and what can we do to improve, make the life easier for everybody, residents, employees, and contractors. So, any other thoughts or discussion on that, or anything I missed our discussion with Marguerite?
No, I think that captures it.
Okay, awesome. All right, Angela, you did a little bit of outreach as well. Do you want to
Yeah.
share a review of that?
So I was able to speak with Travis Farley, who is our new Southborough Recreation Director. And they are saying that they are in very good shape. He is a big fan of my rec. He has used that for the last 6 years. He feels that it's stable. seamless, appreciates that it's a SaaS-based system. And he said it's very easy to make mobile changes via his mobile device. He also likes that the town website links to MyRec, and that we were able to have the banner alerts and notifications. We also touched on data management for him. He said that Tim had left them in a very good spot with data. It is all already on OneDrive. It's very easy for them to share. He did not believe that their programs had any major IT needs. He thought maybe long-term, having access to some iPads could be beneficial. In terms of training for his department, he thought that a lot of the training they needed was through MyRec, and he commented that MyRec has great customer service, and they had taken care of what he felt, at least at this point, were their training needs. So a good touch point. I explained to him kind of the role of the committee, that we were here to assist him if there were technology issues or questions that came up for him in the future. And he agreed to touch base periodically just to kind of see how things are evolving. I think he's still fairly new to the role, but seems like a real go-getter and a good guy. So that was the intro conversation that we had.
Fantastic. Jay, do we have town-owned iPads or tablets with cellular connectivity currently?
There's a few, not all of them are. A good portion of them are just Wi-Fi. And if they do request it, they would have to, obviously go through facilities to get a connection through our Verizon account. But there are a few that do have the connectivity, and it depends on what the department's needs are. Like the building department, he needs it outside on the road when he's is at a site. Whereas a good portion of the time, youth and family services are on site somewhere, so they're typically just using it with the Wi-Fi that they have available to them.
Angela, did Rec mention that whether they need something mobile or just in?
So yeah, let me move on to youth and family services. So Jay and I met with Sarah for our quarterly meeting, and she said that they do need to get to know My Senior Center better. So she felt like there were capabilities that the software had that they just weren't quite familiar with themselves. So she wanted to be able to spend some more time just getting a better understanding of what the software did. So that might be something that, we could assist with going forward. Let's see what else that she said. We talked again about the issue that they were having with the confidential docs, the whole process of having to scan and upload them. Jay and I talked with her about that. We said that Hassan would talk with them and go over and kind of see what the process is that they're using now and how they might be able to optimize that. She did mention that they could potentially, or they would like to understand how they could use iPads more effectively. They do just have the Wi-Fi version now. So one of the questions was, do they potentially need more cellular access? But we decided to kind of try to really more define what the use cases are. What are they trying to do? What is it they're trying to accomplish? So that we could then determine whether they only needed Wi-Fi for that use case or whether cellular data was also required. So I think she was going to think about that a little bit. And then Jay was going to partner with her to maybe help her understand more of the capabilities of the iPad, how they might be able to be leveraged in different scenarios. And I think that was the bulk of what we talked about with her.
Okay, are they using Simple Practice? Remind me.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where they store, that's their medical.
Medical.
And that's what we're talking when we scan sensitive records, they're scanned into Simple Practices, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. Like it sounds like for youth and family services, what they do is probably not nearly as mobile as, say, the rec department. The rec department might be out and they, visit facilities and they might need
Yeah.
mobile iPad. So going back to the rec department, did Travis mention whether they were interested in mobile iPads with cell connection or just iPads with Wi-Fi?
Just said iPads in general, but it wasn't even something that they needed. I don't think today. It was more like potentially in the future, they might have a need for some of that in some of the programs that they run.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Any other questions for Angela or Jay on youth and family services or rec?
Just a comment that iPads was something that also came up when I met PW, that it would be helpful to have iPads. So that when they spot something, I guess, on the road, they could ideally enter it in straight away as opposed to having to come back to the office to report it. I believe they may have some, but they're old. So Jay, is that just a matter of them following a process to get them, or is it more complicated than that?
Well, I mean, if it becomes a need, they can technically just reach out to us, and it really does depend on what type of setup they need. So if they need one with cellular service, then we'll either work with the vendor with Verizon and try to see if we get something combined, or I just, would look for one on CDW with the capability for cellular and just add it to Verizon. Again,
So there's nothing preventing, it's a matter of just
No.
making a request.
Yeah, exactly. Just reaching out and saying, hey, this is what our needs are.
Yeah.
And they all know that as well. And we have those conversations internally a lot. So even when we have our managers meetings, I always, discuss that with management, just to let me know whenever they need something, to always just funnel it through to us, and we make sure that their needs are met. So
Okay.
Great. Yeah, let's encourage. I'm a strong advocate of like DPW having iPads to be able to record things rather than having to wait, out in the field, especially. And this relates, I guess, to the GIS discussion of making sure whatever GIS system they're using, the ArcGIS, is there a mobile I assume there's a mobile interface to it.
it should
Being able to update those while you're out in the field and mobile connectivity. So if there's any support they need from us in terms of make sure that we have sufficient budget. By the way, when a department requests a new laptop or an iPad, does it come? I assume it comes out of the department's budget. Is that correct, Jay?
it comes out of my budget.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's make sure, let's recommend to all of these departments that are looking for iPads, et cetera, make sure they get those requests in sufficient time this fall so that Jay can properly allocate for them in this next fiscal year budget request.
And just so you know, I typically have that discussion with every department just about budget time, and try to figure out what their needs are. Are we missing out on stuff? Are there things that we didn't get this year that we need to get next year? Because it's all part of the budgeting process for me internally, trying to get those numbers together, figure out what we're gonna need for the following year. So
Great. Okay. Any other questions for regarding youth and family services or rec from anyone? Okay. I don't have any updates on my side for outreach, department outreach. Yash or Joe, do you have any comments, questions, or updates?
Yeah, the on schools, I did reach out to the new IT director, Mr. Parent. Gave him kind of like who the MTC is, what we're about, what our role is, especially since there's the educational technology that we have no role in, and that we care more about the infrastructure and the administrative technology. I did not know if you had any conversation. I let them know that traditionally, as far as I know, the director is named ex officio on our committee. It's not currently updated on the site, so I didn't know if you had any conversations with the schools committee or if I should just reach out to them. So I was going to check here. He would have come, but this meeting didn't match his schedule. But I plugged him into where everything is on the website, and that, you know, even as an observer, he could show up if he hasn't been formally named yet.
Sure. It's a good question. He doesn't have to, you know, it's pretty much up to the schools of who is the ex officio from the school. And so I would assume if he's willing to do it, I don't think there's any sort of appointment process, you know, I mean, he just is it. So, yeah, I'd love to have him, and we can definitely update NBC members on the website that he's basically ex officio member from schools. So, um, Jay, would you mind adding him to our mailing list?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thanks.
I had a conversation with him actually today about a different situation. But it was, you know, it was a good conversation about talk about collaborating in the future. And but I think right now he's more concerned with trying to get school up and running over the next few weeks. So, and I said I completely understand that. So whenever he's ready to connect, that I would be available for him. So.
Yeah, I did the same. I said, it's your first month and you're coming up to the, the start of a term. So, you know, get back to me when you have time, man. But if I don't hear from him by the next meeting, I'll probably give him a little slight nudge.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for that outreach. Anything else to report, Joe or Yash? Okay. Take some notes here.
So Matt, just a quick update. I physically, instead of putting it on the cloud, I just noticed I didn't have any notes on the pen test. Like I left the actual copies on my computer at work and not in the cloud where I thought I did. So I don't have like anything to show physically, but we could still discuss it in executive. That's fine. But I just wanted to give you that quick update just in case.
That was good. Yeah, let's discuss an exec. Yash, you have a comment?
Yeah. On the previous thing itself, on the department update, I think so. I'll need to talk with the police and fire department again, but I think we'll need to talk to them post the RECC kind of checkpointing, because that might change requirements, or that might have an impact on what they deem necessary from a software update perspective or something of that sort. Or are they trying to buy models? What decision gets taken? Because it is more about long-term contracts and all. So that's my thought behind it.
You're basically saying that if we join a rec,
Yeah.
we are much more downstream from the technical requirements.
Kind
effectively
of
for
like,
what the rec will set the requirements for
the rec will set the requirements, and we will be more on the as a technology committee perspective. I think I don't feel I don't know if we will have a role in it or not at this point. But if I think it will be more.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, sounds good. Any other updates or comments on departments? The meeting room tech, I think we've already covered it. Basically, yeah, Jay is going to be reaching out and getting some quotes, and we're starting with the main meeting room in the townhouse and using that as a proof of concept showcase, and then we'll expand to other locations after that. Hopefully employing the new Zoom intelligent director stuff that does individual, one camera, but then follows individuals and individual frames of members. And Assessor software. Want to, Jay, comment on that? What you had mentioned to me?
Yeah, so there has been quite a few small little issues with the new patch and update that they applied, and upgrade to the new server that we had. It's not the server, it's just different quirky things have been happening with evaluations inside of the system that they've been working on, which has required the vendor to have to log into our server quite a few times over the last few months alone. So, you know, I don't always have the time to give them access to the server, nor do I just provide them access to the server so they can log in whenever they want. That's just not how it goes. So we usually set up some type of team viewer setup so they can get in there. But again, my servers time out, and if they're running some type of query or something that's taking forever, and they don't go in there and check it, it kicks them out. So then they got to restart the whole thing again. So it's become very difficult recently to get these issues fixed. Whereas if they were already in the cloud, a lot of these things would have already been corrected, on their end and just, pushed out whenever they need to fix it. So it has definitely pushed the assessor department to move to the cloud quicker. So the plan is, as of right now, is to bring it to the town meeting floor, coming up this fall town meeting, to get some money pushed aside. I can't remember exactly the verbiage and how they get in the funding, but they're looking to move some money around so they can get that funding, to pretty much migrate us to the cloud as soon as possible. Once that is pushed forward, then I will be working with the vendor to start getting the data pushed out to them. And, I'm assuming on their end would be a pretty quick process. They kind of already summarized to us in the past, what it would take to do this. So I have a brief understanding of what it is. So it shouldn't be too much work to get it up there, but this is definitely going to make things a lot more streamlined as far as like patching and updates and fixes and their access. They're constantly 24/7 on it. There's redundancy and backups and the whole DR plan that they have for their data that's stored in the cloud, and security as well. I'm pushing for two-factor authentication for logging into the site as well. So once we start that process, I'll really start to know more about either it's SSO or whether it's Duo that's involved, whatever it is. I want to make sure that that's in place as well, especially for admin access to the database. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much all of it. And once I know more, I'll let people know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jay, this we are talking about the Patriot software, right? At this point.
It's the Patriot software. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, remember from my notes too that we had from last year, like when we met the assessors, that it was going to be a 6K annual licensing fee and an additional 6K when we go into the cloud, and that's the budgeting requirement.
Yep.
But also from my notes that we got our new servers in 2022 itself. So now that we are going to cloud, and that plan was delayed to FY27, so that we could extract value out of our new servers. So
Yep.
if we are moving to cloud, is it like a local server plus cloud kind of an environment setup, or is it more of like a fully cloud and now we can repurpose our new servers at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be full cloud. It's taking the data that we have currently on site and it's bringing it to their servers and making it entirely cloud with a URL for us to access it,
Okay.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then again, we'll be able to repurpose the server for anything else, or delete the server if we don't need the server. So again, it
So
gives us that
I
ability.
think then the cost of the server for something else can also be a adjustment to any format of budgeting that we do.
Well, these server, this is a VMware cluster that's used
Yeah.
for all virtual machines.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and Assess Pro is just, I think, one of the many virtual machines. Obviously, the
Yeah.
public safety, and there's various variety of other VMs that are being hosted there. So this is just one of the many VMs that will happily be decommissioning this one VM after it's moved to the cloud.
Yeah, essentially just putting it back to the storage that we have available, or if we repurpose it for something, we'll figure it out at that point. I'm sure I'm sure the server won't go away immediately, only because they may need to go back and extrapolate something else that they missed, or you know what I mean? So it's definitely not going to just disappear right away. Even the other server I had, the other Patriot server, is still kind of sitting there in case, you know, they've actually had to go back and forth to that old server to grab data from it still to this day. So yeah, I'm not planning on just deleting them the next day. I'm just gonna kind of let them sit there for a little bit and see what they need from them, and then when the time comes, purge it out.
And speaking of which, I think the cloud version of Assess Pro did not, correct me if my memory's wrong, but didn't it also allow for the assessors to have mobile tablets? There was a mobile version
There was a
because of the cloud.
yeah, mobile access to the database as well that they could have done as well. So, yep.
And so I think it'd be great to include that in the budget if that's an option, including the cost of the tablets and whatever subscriptions are necessary.
Okay. Yep.
So
I'll discuss that with them as well, see what they say.
great. Okay, any other questions or comments on the assessor software discussion? Right, related to that, Jay, are there any other technology-related articles that you're aware of, or any other ones that you're aware of that are coming before town meeting?
Besides the dispatch stuff, which is technically technical, there's nothing more that I'm aware of, and that would have been by me at this point before it got there. So,
Okay. And fall town meetings at the end of August, end of September. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Pull up my notes. Monday, September 30th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was supposed to, it could, you know, I hope it doesn't, but it could roll into October 1st, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so related to that, I can't remember when I'll find out when the articles are due and the warrant will be finalized, but I'm keen to possibly helping do another mini survey, like a general sentiment survey on the town meeting articles. It seemed to help for this last town meeting, so I'll happily do that and then publish the results broad and wide before the town meeting, so people are aware of that. Let's see here, 5-year strategic tech plan. Angela, I don't think you've gotten any feedback yet.
No. Yeah, if folks do have feedback, please send it to me. I'll give, I guess, till like end of this week, and then if there's no feedback, I'll just take a stab at doing a rewrite and send that out. But I'd prefer to get the feedback in advance before I make the edits if possible.
I did start to look at it, Angela. One of the things I noticed is it does highlight the actions from the prior surveys in there. So do we need to summarize what came out of this year's survey as input into that, or is that something you'll look at?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the points. There's sections in there that will need to be updated, and the survey piece is one of them.
I'll pull that information, and that's actually it's a good segue into this whole discussion of understanding what the business needs are and what the drivers are, what problem we're trying to solve, and having data to back that up based on the surveys and citizen requests. I think that's something that I haven't kept up on as much as I should have, and I will catch back up on that. So I'll generate some statistics from it. I am keen to also summarize all of the responses per section, basically per department, including the free text responses. And so what I'd love to do is basically share them with the MTC, and of course it's all public information, but if each of the MTC members would be willing to do the outreach to your respective departments and share the results with those departments. And then related to that, it'd be good to, I would be interested, I think I would recommend we consider adding to the strategic tech plan potentially what are the themes and that even some department specific strategies and things that we should be moving towards. Things like unifying GIS, if that's even possible, um, um, etc. So and outline for each department what are the problem, what are the underlying business problems we're trying to solve, not just standardizing. I think most of a lot of the plan is around standardization of tech, and that's good. It's cost savings, uniformity is good, but actually outlining what are the business problems we're trying to solve, and sort of thinking like the see-click fix solution, making sure we outline, what's the problem there we're trying to solve in terms of visibility and simple self-serve access and self-service viewing of the problems and reporting and bi-directional communication between the town and the citizens. That's a general theme on that we've seen over and over again in our surveys. So anyway, all to say is I'll generate the responses, I'll distribute in the summary analysis, and I'll distribute it across here. But love to help if everybody would be willing to outreach to your respective departments and share the results. And as part of sharing the results, potentially think about what do we want to add to the 5-year strategic tech plan that might be more specific per department.
And then because I think in there it says it gets updated annually. Do we update it annually, or are we going to try and say, look, we want to, and maybe 5 years then is too long. Do we say this is a 3-year strategy and then the next 2 years it's update against that? And then every 3 years there's a refresh or something like that?
I'll answer the first question is the 5-year. That's in our bylaw.
Okay.
That MTC shall keep a 5-year tech plan. So I like keeping the horizon of 5 years, but I'll defer to Angela and your other questions.
We've been updating it about annually. So we usually will at least take a look at it each year to see what's changed, if there are major things that we need to change. So after it was written, I mean, we've done at least one update to it on an annual basis, but I definitely think at least yearly taking a look at it and seeing what is required to be updated is helpful.
Okay, agreed. And I see you had already started to note some of the things that were committed to or we planned for in prior years and whether those were completed or not. So I guess it'll be a running inventory of that as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the 5-year tech plan? Okay. Prep for fall town meeting. Doesn't sound like there's any other articles that are really tech enabled. Like I say, I'm keen to, and I'll be generating a survey for just general sentiment on the articles that are going before town meeting. Is there anything else from anybody's perspective that we need to prepare for town meeting? We're not going to be giving any sort of presentation. This is just an interim. We probably don't even need, if we have extra flyers. I can't remember if I ended up with them or you do, to Angela, but it's really won't hurt to pass them out.
I have some. I think you have the ones from the last meeting, and I have some that are a little older.
Okay, awesome. All right, before we go into executive session, is there anything else? Okay, looks like Mr. Stivers has a question or a comment. Go ahead, Sam.
Thanks, Matt. I know you guys have a full agenda here, but I have a couple of comments if you have time.
Please, yes.
A few things. One, you talked about the school new tech person. I think it's great that you guys have connected with him. And Matt, I'd suggest maybe you reaching out to Greg Martineau just to reinforce that you're aware that he's on board, and that part of the group has already reached out to him, and that you expect that he would be ex officio participant, and you welcome him, et cetera, and look forward when he gets up to speed to catching up with the committee. I think that wouldn't hurt, just to sort of connect with Greg. Greg is interested. I've talked with him about having more active participation. He was disappointed that the prior guy basically disappeared on you. So I think he's supportive, but it wouldn't hurt to touch that base. Second, on the rec, it looks like we're headed to Westboro. John Butler and the chiefs have continued to reach out to other communities and to the state 911 guys. And sadly, state 911 is mildly interested in the virtual rec, but basically has said, we're not prepared to pay for that at this point in time. And if they're not prepared to fund it, I think that's a huge hurdle for us. And also Westboro has basically said, interesting concept, but our focus is getting our rec set up as quickly as possible. And we think it makes sense in the future, but probably not now. And Westboro has also said that they're getting more interest because the state is squeezing some of the people who want to be independent out there, like Marlborough and Framingham, saying that we want you guys to join larger recs than just the one that you're talking about. So Westboro is getting very popular now, and they're talking about closing the window for participation. So I think we want to be part of that, and I think we're headed toward that. So that to me is sort of where we stand on that one at this point. And again, virtual, everybody has been interested, but basically, as I think you've seen, the tech skills in most of the towns out there, and particularly both select board and the town administrators and the internal staff have said, we got so many things to deal with here that this is a new thing. We just don't have the ability, the bandwidth to deal with it at this point. So I think it's been useful in the sense that people recognize the concept and are interested in it. But so we've, in my view, sort of started the socialization process. But my theory has been that we also have a lot of irons in the fire here, and the one who charges up the hill first is the one who gets arrows in his chest. So I don't think we got a lot of capacity to do that at this point. So I think my sense is that's where we're headed. But I will circle back with Al and ask him to follow up with you guys on this. So that's my sort of high-level update. If you have questions, happy to chat about that. But
Thank you for that update. I just sometimes I love government just makes me smile.
yeah, well,
Hearing things that we need to do something quickly.
Yeah,
so we have to build it brick and mortar.
makes me cringe actually. But I've had to readjust my timing, moving from the private sector into the public sector, in the sense that, as you guys know, you say, let's do this, and things start to happen generally. Here, we form a committee, study it for 2 years, and then take it to town meeting and get whacked by it. But anyway, I think, sadly, it is a long-term socialization process. I think we've made good progress on this concept. People are aware of it. I think people are interested in it. But again, just don't have the bandwidth at this time. One other comment, you guys talked about the school thing. That's not going to be on the town meeting agenda for this fall here. They debated a 2-grade school for Neary or a 4-grade school for Neary. It was about $65 million for the 2-grade, about $85 million for the 4-grade. Interestingly, when they actually started looking at it more closely, the change in the impact on the tax bill was like $150 a year between those two, because the state reimbursement is more for the 4-grade school. All the educators said 4-grade is better. It cuts down on the transitions that the kids have between schools. It's every 2 years now. It would be less than that, or longer term in a particular school with the 4-grade school. And administratively, economies of scale and so forth, 4 grades is better. If they do 4-grade, that means that Finn would be repurposed, and the rec department and others would like to actually be able to use Finn. So that appears to be where we're headed. The building committee voted to do that, to recommend that, but there are many steps that have to happen. The state guys have to weigh in, and we got to get those approvals later in the fall here. And then it'll probably be on town meeting agenda for next spring sometime, maybe a special town meeting before the annual town meeting in March. So that seems to be where that one is headed as well. So those are quick updates. And again, thanks you guys for all the good work. A lot of good things are happening out here, not as fast as any of us would like, but we're making good progress. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam, for attending. Thanks for those updates. Angela, do you have a question or a comment?
Not about the things that Sam spoke about. So I'll just pause and see if anybody else has any questions for him before I have my quick question.
I'm all set. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sam.
Matt, I just wanted to bring up again, we had talked in the past about potentially doing a booth at Heritage Day to help people understand the committee and, you know, just do some citizen outreach. I don't know if we want to do that or not, but I expect that Heritage Day is usually at the beginning of October. So if we wanted a booth, we would probably have to reserve it in September, and that could be before our next meeting. So I just wanted to put that out there and see what the appetite was from folks to actually do that.
I actually saw in the community advocate yesterday that it's open, and I think until honestly the 20th of September maybe, to reserve a table. Is it Indigenous People Day now? It was Columbus Day. It's always the same.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's that day. That's right.
whatever the 11th is it?
What are the hours of it during the day?
It runs from like the setup usually is early. So you get there early before the parade kicks off and people set up the booths and stuff like that. And then they have the parade. The parade usually goes from like 10 until 10:30. I mean, the booths, once you're in there,
About
it's very
2
hard to
o'clock.
get out until the end of the day. So you're kind of locked in from like 8 in the morning until about 3 in the afternoon. I mean, you could potentially leave. What we did with Girl Scouts is we rotated people. Like we had certain people set up and stay the first few hours, and then the next set of people would come and do like, you know, a few hours, and then the last set would come and do the last few hours.
Do we have, I think it's a good idea. I'd be interested in joining and participating. Who else would be available to man the booth?
No, I think I'm around that day.
What day?
So it will be
Remind
the
the date.
14th of
Monday the 14th.
Okay.
So
It's
yes,
regular.
I can support.
Yeah. I can.
Okay, so I think I heard Orla and Angela and myself. Joe and Yash, would you have capacity?
It's a regular workday, so I'd have to figure out how.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm guessing it's not a requisite that we have the booth staffed the entire time. We could have pamphlets out there if we didn't have coverage for pretty good
Right.
section
Yeah,
of
we could
time.
even just leave stuff on the, you know, on the booth, and we just have to clean it up at the end of the day too, you know.
I think the
bring
mad rush
tables
tends
or-
to be after the parade, right? Where
Yeah.
everybody kind of comes across, but I'd imagine by noontime it starts to.
It sounds like there's enough interest, so I'll look into that with the rec group and just look at what it would take to reserve a booth and stuff like that.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you, Angela. That's a great idea. Thanks for bringing it up and looking into it. I'm definitely interested in supporting. So.
Which I guess someone had also reached out to me and had expressed interest to know what was the process for joining the committee and do we take new committee members, which is something that may also come up if we have a booth. So how does
we have a fixed capacity or fixed number of members, and those members for each position, there are specific appointments. They're basically appointing authority that is assigned for each position.
Okay.
So we don't have the ability of expanding right now. I think it require a bylaw change to expand the committee for additional participants. But with that being said, I would like to think about how we can leverage additional volunteers and additional people who are interested in helping in certain areas.
Mhm.
in researching, technology and expertise in various different things. So
Being part of a working group.
working group, yeah, and everything from like analysis of user journeys and
Yeah.
UX people, and so I think it'd be useful to basically just start a list of volunteers or people who are interested in helping the town with technology, and they would be
What their
considered.
skill set is, maybe. So that's something we could also capture at the booth.
Exactly. Sign
Yeah.
up for volunteers. It would be considered extensions of the MTC. I think basically call them they're like contractors or volunteer contractors. And I think we even have a form we've used in the past. We do have a form we used in the past for volunteers, like the UX person and the data scientist, etc. And if you, so yeah, I'd be very happy to put together like some examples of personas we're looking for, and as well as anybody who if somebody wants to sign up, what are your expertise, and how do you want to help? Because if people are interested in helping, I'd love to find ways making use of their skills. And of course, anybody's always welcome to join the meetings and listen to meetings. And if there's something that they have expertise they want to chime in on, it's certainly welcome to do so. Okay. Any other comments on that subject? Before we go into the executive session, let's take a look at our schedules for our next meeting. What is our schedule for September? Town meeting, definitely, the 30th is town meeting. I am out of town, actually out of the country in business on the week of the 16th. So would the 24th be an option?
I'm playing the evening of the 24th. That week does not work for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, same week of the 23rd's shot for me.
Okay. Let's see here. Is the week of the 9th? It's only how many weeks out? 1, 2, 3 weeks out. That be okay?
Yeah, the 10th.
Yeah, like the 10th.
That's fine for me.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 on the
Yeah.
10th.
Yeah.
I might have an issue, but let's just schedule it for then, and I'll let you know.
Okay, if you do have an issue, what better day would be? What day would be better for you? Like, would be the 9th or 11th?
If anything, the 11th. But I mean, let's go with the 10th for now. I think I just gotta confirm whether or not I still have to do something on the 10th. I'll let you know by the end of the week or something. I just gotta figure that out.
All right, let me know. And for everybody else, if we did need to move it to the 11th, is that an option for everybody else?
That's fine for me.
Books.
Yep.
I'm supposed to be somewhere in the 11th.
Okay. 12th. How about 12th? Is that a fallback option?
Let's see, Wednesday, 12th. Yeah, 12th I could make work.
Jay, could that be a fallback option if we needed to for you?
Possibly, yeah. Like I said, let's just go with the 10th for now, and I just
Okay.
gotta double check with that, but I think I can. I just gotta figure that out if it was the 10th or not. I'll let you know.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So we will be entering executive session to discuss the deployment of security. If this is Mass General Law, section 30A, subsection 21, purpose number 4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect thereto. And we will be adjourning from the executive session. We need a vote to enter executive session. So I move that we enter executive session at this time.
Second.
Okay, take notes. All right, let's go around the room. Joe,
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Orla,
Aye.
Angela,
Yes.
likewise, aye. Thank you. Okay, we can stop.